No one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. South Africa occupy land. That's who we are.
Yes, it was the greatest surprise slideshow in the history of the White House. The lights went down, the screen lit up, and the audience of South African dignitaries squirmed in their seats. What was on display was everything but sadly very few others, have been talking about for years. The vile, despicable Julian Malema, a black supremacist who for years has been stoking racial hatreds and no doubt racially motivated killings at mass rallies like this one, chanting, "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer, shoot to kill."
Shoot to kill. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa, pa, brr, pa, pa.
The very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it.
The time has come. Execute Order 66.
All right. We are back with another one. I am King MattTheGod. We're back into the controversy. Why won't it end? All right, so if any of y'all have been under the rock, pretty sure half of y'all probably don't even know what's going on. So I guess they sent the invite to a South African president. Probably was an ambush because Elon Musk has been kind of like hinting at like he's about to try to start trouble down in South Africa. Well, he's from South Africa, so let's to be fair. Like, I mean, and we'll talk about that into a little bit. But so President Trump basically invited the South African president. I don't know his name, Cyril or something. So he came down there and talked to him, and then during they talking about, it's supposed to be just like a cordial, like, yeah, we're going to be trade and work together, certain projects. And then so basically Trump just ambushed him with, hey, what's going on with this white genocide down there in South Africa? yo, I still like Trump, I still fuck with him, but this is what I'm gonna say about it. I seen it coming like a month ago. Like, to me, I voted Republican, I voted for Trump. Everything's fucking was amazing. Everyone was united, black and white people was united under Republican. And I started seeing it like, here come the race war. Here we go. Like, so, but I seen it a little bit while ago that Elon was posting about what's going on in South Africa. So supposedly the South African farmers are being persecuted in genocide. And to be honest, they are the children and descendants of apartheid. And look into that. We don't even need to go into that, but we'll just basically say this. Y'all know what apartheid is. If y'all don't know what apartheid is, man, genocide to the South African indigenous motherfuckers. Now, so I'm gonna put this out there before I can go further. It's wildly crazy that, just keep it wanted. It's basically white people complaining about it because obviously they're white, so they feel a racial concern. But it's funny how they complaining and crying though about the descendants and children of apartheid who committed genocide a generation, I'm gonna look it up. It really wasn't that long ago, like maybe 40 years, good 40 years. But now, I obviously don't agree with it. Don't be like, I don't agree with that shit at all. Like, that's not a good look, just go harming them. But what it seems like, the South African government just basically like, get the land back. That's what it seems like. And I don't even seem like they on some, oh, we taking this land back and we gonna kick you. I mean, they might be doing that. I don't know. But it seemed like, I mean, they probably gonna give y'all some bread. But right now in Africa, what's going on? They're like creating a dome, trying to block out all colonizer nations for their having their hands on their resources, so they can sit and broker their own. Like now we set the terms because it's our shit. But what it's seeming like is France is a little salty because Burkina kicked France out. South Africa is probably doing the same thing, like, and a lot of the African nations are doing the same thing. So they might be a little salty. And in my opinion, they're positioning themselves to like invade Africa, but they're gonna lose. Like, all right, so my point is, as soon as I seen Elon and Trump start to poke their nose in Africa, I feel like everything is fine. All the Republican policies, for the most part, is fine. But the minute they start poking their nose in Africa, I was like, no. And I get it, because Elon from there. His parents and grandpappy and pappy was probably participating. They may or may not. You can't just put that on all of them, say they was. But so what it seems like, they probably just like, I mean, it probably is some, like, I'm gonna play some videos of actual people that live in that area, and they'll say like it's crime and murders to all races down here. Like we all getting fucking deleted down here. So it ain't like, but you know they gonna make a super giant big deal about niggas. Niggas be getting killed every day. What about the cop genocide on niggas? Like I was saying in the comments, like, you can't even kneel. It was a moment. It felt like black genocide. Like you get pulled over any moment. Like just like, oh, show me hands. Bah, 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 bah. You be like, oh shit, I was going to get something to eat real quick. Like God forbid. Thank God it never happened to me. Like, I mean, like I said, I don't see it happening right now. Like it was something in 2020, man. I don't know if the devil, the evil was in the air. The frequency was on some. The cops was killing niggas crazy. Like, I mean, it might be how it is always, but maybe the media was trying to share it and show it more to like get black people riled up. That's why the race wars is deep. The media got something to do with it. And right now, the media got you white folk like puppets. Y'all need to chill. And like I said, like Trump used, that's sad. Like, if you watch my videos, you know, months ago, I probably be like, yeah, Trump, yeah. Now I'm like, Trump, no. Please don't do this. Like there, I feel like, and they don't even feel like it's all Trump fault. I feel like his advisors are handing them shit like, here, look at this. And they're gathering information that might be false, or they got a secret agenda. And I think Trump needs to just tread lightly. Even if he think he may have picked his cabinet just perfect, be careful, because what I'm about to share now, it looks like he's a little egg on the face, but you know, the people that's the thirsty racists, they like, yeah, Trump fucking, yeah, he told him and all this, and like, let's just take a look. Man. All right, so this, I put him on because he's extra Joe. Like, who is this? He said Ryan, and I like Sky News, but I'm like, Sky News, nah, I can't rock with that. Like, get out of here, Sky News. Like, all right, so let's go into some of the shit. I was like, damn, I guess I'm gonna do a video on this. Like, see, they gonna hit me with a commercial. I know it's coming. Come on.
If you want to drop your auto insurance rate, then don't.
Man, you can't get no cheap auto insurance. If someone knows about this shit, it's true, man. Let me know, because this is a damn lie.
Down.
On to new fallout now from Donald Trump's contentious Oval Office meeting with South Africa's president earlier this week. During that meeting, President Trump held up some printouts of news articles and images that he claimed were evidence of a genocide against white South Africans. Well, as Reuters reports, one of the images is actually from Reuters video of a mass burial in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It does not depict dead white farmers in South Africa, as Mr. Trump and the White House claimed in front of the South African president and in front of journalists in the White House. For more now, let's go to CNN's Larry Madao joining us from Nairobi in Kenya. This Congo confusion, Larry, how are people where you are reacting to it?
It is shocking to a lot of people because, as I said after that meeting, based on my own reporting in this region, and especially from 15 years in South Africa, a lot of what President Trump used to justify this persecution and murders of white farmers was just untrue. And this is another evidence. When I saw him hold up that picture, I thought it looked familiar. We now know, and Reuters is confirming, that this picture of body bags is not from South Africa. It's actually from the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's from a mass burial in Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo on February 3rd. And the Reuters video journalist, Jafar Al-Katanti, who took that video, was surprised to see the president hold up that picture. It's a screen grab that links to a Reuters video from that day. It follows a big assault on that Goma city in the eastern DRC by rebels named the M23, and that was the effect. A lot of people were killed on that day and the days before, and this was a mass burial that was carried out.
So basically, all right, well, it still doesn't change the fact if there is any type of targeting of white South African farmers down there. Like I said, I don't think that's right at all if that is happening. But it's going to be seen from most people on the ground there like, hey, it ain't no, they not special. Like motherfuckers getting probably, they saying it's gang shit. Motherfuckers getting fucked up everywhere. Like any race down there. Like, I mean, that's, which is how it is in America. Like, I mean, it might be the statistics might go up and down, but if you go certain areas, like, get fucked up. Don't like, it just is what it is. It don't matter what race you is. Don't go down there. Don't go around there. So basically, I think one of the pictures, I guess, let's see, we can identify the picture. So I guess this picture right here, I guess, of bodies, and he was saying it, and it's actually from Congo. So that's why I started immediately thinking like, yo, like, Trump, bro, be careful. Like your advisors, whoever thirsty, feeding you thirsty things to go after, because that's basically what his people surrounding them. They might see something more interest and they be like, hey, so and so over in Spain has this going on. Let's see if we can set up a deal. And I'm pretty sure Elon got a little bit of something to do with this. So, you know, this is fueled a little bit by Elon. So Elon should have even knew a little better too. Like you got Grok, Elon, you got X and Twitter and Grok. You got AI. You can just ask. You can ask AI your damn self. Like, is this picture real? Know what I'm saying? So obviously, Elon and somebody else is giving him fake info to like try to ambush this guy with. So that's an L right there. I mean, it doesn't change the fact if this is true happening to white farmers down there, but it's still a little L. It's like it's making you think like, yo. And Trump may not have the time to sit and research every picture. I mean, that's why I say they handed him that, and he basically just going with what he knows or believes. So, but that's why I say I don't necessarily think it's like Trump is just malice and ill will and on that colonizer shit. But he has to be careful because he's still surrounded by. It sounds like Elon might be a little mad because they might be kicking Elon and his companies out of Africa too. Like so. And you're going to hear later one dude vouching for Elon. So we're going to start to try to figure out what's really going on. All right.
A Reuters video from that day. It follows a big assault on that Goma city in the eastern DRC by rebels named the M23. And
so basically shared the picture and it wasn't even that area. And we're going to talk about that mass burial ground that they keep showing like cars lined up and stuff. That was interesting too, because I kept hearing that's not really what's going on in the picture, but we're going to check into that too.
That was the effect. A lot of people were killed on that day and the days before, and this was a mass burial that was carried out by the International Committee of the Red Cross, and Reuters were the only news organization that were allowed in to film that. So this picture does not depict the deaths of white farmers in South Africa, as President Trump led President Ramaphosa to believe. And the wider question, the point that President Trump was trying to make here is that lots of farmers in South Africa are getting killed or getting executed, even though he used evidence that does not support that. That picture was from an American conservative online magazine that had talked about both Goma, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and South Africa. And the South African foreign minister was on Amanpour last night, and he brought some statistics with him.
In the last 4 years, 225 farm attacks, 101 farm dwellers who are majority black, 55 farm owners who are majority white. So that is a period of of 4 years, and that does not represent a genocide. But
all right, did y'all hear that statistics? I wasn't paying attention to it, but when I first listened to it, it didn't sound too crazy numbers. And I mean, just sound like the regular balance of murders to all races. Like, it sounds like some shit America numbers
of 4 years, and that does.
Let me listen to it again.
Farm owners who are 25, farmer tax, 101.
The Democratic Republic of Congo and South Africa statistics with him.
5 farmer tax. In the last 4 years, 225 farmer tax, 101 farm dwellers who are majority black, 55 farm owners who are majority white. So that is a period of 4 years, and that does not represent a genocide. But it is still unfortunate. It should not happen because any crime, it is a crime, and that's why the president then stated that we are dealing with a crime situation.
And that is the argument the South Africans are trying to make in the Oval Office. They have a crime problem, not a murder of farmers. In fact, farm murders, last year when we looked at it, 0.2% of the overall total, Polo, a small percentage.
Yeah, we've been here before, Donald Trump and his press folks using material out of context. So we can now add South Africa to the list. Larry Madow, thank you so much for your reporting.
Christ, Trump, please. Like, I get it. You got a lot to do, but don't let them motherfuckers pass you some shit that ain't right. Like that's why I said if he really cared, he would have just off air, like, talk about, hey, let's figure this out, figure out if it is really extreme, if it is, and then, but to ambush it on camera on I think it was just a little sleaze baggage of Trump on some part of you trying to appease to this radical, thirsty white base. Like, you don't have to, like you're only just. So that's what my initial thought. Like, why would you do this on camera? Like,
more on that contentious meeting between South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and President Trump from yesterday afternoon.
Like, I get when he did it with Zelensky, because Zelensky was like, I mean, he was more aggressive when his like, no, that's not what happened. And once you ask Putin, and I mean, but the black president was just sitting there like, he probably noticed some bullshit, so he just relaxed. Like, look, I don't know. I'm gonna play y'all some of the footage. We might watch it.
Remember, the White House played a video purporting to back up claims that Afrikaners in South Africa are victims of genocide. Mr. Trump showed a video of crosses lining the side of a road, claiming it was a burial site of murdered white farmers. It wasn't. Today, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was pressed about the video by NBC reporter Yamiche El-Sendor.
The president showed a video that he said showed more than 1,000 burial sites of white South Africans that he said were murdered. We know that that was not true and that the video wasn't showing that. So I wonder, why did the president choose to show that? It's not true. The video was showing a burial site. It is unsubstantiated that that's the case.
No, it is true that that video showed the crosses that represent
what the president claimed.
The video showed images of crosses in South Africa about white farmers who have been killed and politically persecuted because of the color of their skin. And those crosses are representing their lives. Those crosses are representing their lives in the fact that they are now dead and their government did nothing about it. Are you disputing that there's no...
The fact that the video showed what the president claimed it showed, because it did not show that. But even more, what I'm asking you is who at the White House...
it did show that. It showed white crosses representing people who have perished because of racial persecution.
Verifies the videos that the president shows, and what protocols are in place when there's unsubstantiated information being put out for the world and world leaders to
Yamiche,
show?
what's unsubstantiated about the video? The video shows crosses that represent the dead bodies of people who were racially persecuted by their government. In fact, the Associated Press, of all places, has a picture of that very monument, and the caption from the Associated Press is, "Each cross marks a white farmer who has been killed in a farm murder." So it is substantiated, not just by that video and the physical evidence that everybody saw on display in the Oval Office, but also by another outlet in this room, the Associated Press. So you should take it up with them if you believe the claim is unsubstantiated. And that's a ridiculous line of questioning.
Well, keep it honest. It's not.
Bro, she took an L too. God damn, the press secretary took an L. They all taking the L's off. It's like, just Just like
what President Trump said yesterday. Let's listen to what he actually said.
Oh, commercial like, oh, stop this. We're getting they love CNN. Y'all love CNN. I wouldn't have found out about this if I ain't watched this video. I started keep digging and looking after this.
What if your smile could go from looking like this?
Why you doing homeboy dirty like that? Got the French veneers though.
These are burial sites right here. Burial sites. Over 1,000 of white farmers, and those cars.
All right, so basically, it's just a burial. It's a memorial more. So it sounds like I'm gonna show it later. People explaining it. It's probably like a farmer couple. A couple got killed. So I guess the rest of the white community, they put out a whole bunch of flags to as a memorial to any white farmers that were killed, and probably, I don't know, and I guess over the years. So it's not actually a burial site. And why that's important is like, what's the difference? Because you would look at this and be like, that's a lot of bodies. If you thinking like every cross is a grave, you'd be like, that's fucked up. I'm gonna keep wondering that will be fucked up. Like, damn. But it's just a memorial. Like, it could be like 50 farmers or 100 farmers. Like, but the way this line looks, it looks like thousands and thousands. All right, so I'm gonna keep playing.
Are lined up to pay love on a Sunday morning. Each one of those white things you see is a cross, and there's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers, the family of white farmers. And those cars aren't driving, they're stopped there to pay respects to their family member who's killed. And it's a terrible sight. I've never seen anything like it. Those people were all killed.
Have they told you where that is, Mr. President? No, I'd like to know where that is, because this I've never seen. But, okay.
I mean, it's in South Africa.
Well, the South African president there at the end asking where the burial site is because he'd never seen it. It's because it does not exist. It's not a burial ground. It's video from 5 years ago of a vigil created after a white farming couple was robbed and murdered. That was a tragedy, as is any murder. And the people actually who killed them were convicted of it. It was not ignored. The killing shook the Afrikaner community, and a neighbor of the couple erected the crosses to honor them and other farmers who had been killed across South Africa. It's not a burial site, he told the BBC today, the person who made this memorial. It was a memorial. It was not a permanent memorial that was erected. It was a temporary memorial. Now, in addition to the claim of a burial ground, there was an article that President Trump held up as further proof of genocide of white farmers in South Africa.
These are all white farmers that are being buried.
Well, we tracked down the source of the image in that article, and it's actually not from South Africa. It is a screen grab of Reuters video from Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and was from February when over 2,000 people were killed in clashes between the government and a rebel group. Now, the sick irony is that none of the Black people fleeing violence or persecution in DRC Congo or anywhere else in Africa would be allowed into the United States right now as refugees.
That is crazy. You damn Democrats is driving a hard bargain right now. The problem with the Democrats is they actually probably can come with some fire if they would get off the weird, fruity, genderish stuff. Like that's what really fucked them up. Like motherfuckers was like, nah, I can't do it. Like they could, like, I can't do it. Because I'm gonna keep on it. It is starting to feel like right now, like, damn, like we had to pick one evil over the other. Because Trump and Elon is fucking up. They need to just stay their bit nose out of Africa. Trump really needs to join the fucking Russia-Burkina fucker alliance right now. Like, because it's like Russia came to help Burkina, and I think China may have came in to help throw some support troops in there. These are all the enemies of USA. That's fucked up. They creating a fucking dream team over there. Like, who else came? I think North Korea. Like, yeah, we offer some troops and shit like that. I think they all on some shit. Like, so what's thorough about the shit is he need to join Burkina and Russia because Russia and them start helping them out with them fucking drones and shit. And them drones, yeah, it shut them. It sounded like the Taliban tried to sneak attack Burkina while fucking Captain Ibrahim was out of town. They think they slick, and it's seeming like what's the name is the one fucking funding them, like the motherfucking deep state might be funding these terrorist groups to go like attack places that they like. Oh, it look crazy if we attack them, so let's just pay some motherfucking terrorist groups to go attack these countries. So they try to sneak attack Burkina, and they use, I think Russia probably gave them the drones or whatever, but they straight like probably use like 3 drones to just like trash like 300 Al Qaeda. Yo, so it's another level of warfare coming. Trump needs to join Burkina and Russia because that's the right side of history on some real shit. Like, please, Trump, don't go with the other fucking these UN nations, man. Don't go with them. Need to just join forces. Just join forces. You already went and met North Korea, Kim. You was kind of cool with him, so just come on, man. Like, I'm begging you, Trump, please. All right, let me get back to the videos. But yeah, that was crazy what he said. Now, whatever the picture he showed of Congo, the president would have never allowed their refugees to come in here just off the whim. Like, oh yeah, like, so that's crazy, man. Trump taking the L on the immigration issue too, just by letting them South African refugees come here. Like, I get it if that is happening to them. Yeah, rush them over. Like it is what it is. Like, give up that land. It'd be cool. Like life goes on. Like sometimes that's life. Like if your ancestors was a piece of shit, or if you didn't acquire, if apartheid really didn't help you acquire that land, even though it's not your country. I mean, take your L and get out of there. Abandon ship. Like, it was good while it lasted. All right, but I'm going to Trump take an L on immigration too, man. Because you kicked out all the motherfuckers that, even if they was illegal and shouldn't have came across the border illegally, and it's probably hundreds of thousands of people that should have first dibs on coming here. But when you fast track the South African farmers here, it just looked crazy a little bit. Like, I was like, that looks crazy. It looks a little crazy. All right, but all right, let's see. We got more. It's gonna keep hitting y'all. I'm gonna keep letting it hit y'all. Marinate. All right, check this out.
Do you have a car? Do you have a clean driving record?
Click right on the commercial.
Did you know that
They must know about my insurance, about the auto pay. Why? So basically, this dude. Let me turn my camera back on. So basically, so the white dude that came with the South African president and them, like, he basically vouched that it wasn't happening a little bit. Like, they didn't show that on no motherfuckers racist on Twitter. They showing all the shit like, he put him in check, and then he confronted him. Yeah, Trump. But it's like the bull saying like wow, they didn't show this, huh?
All of those things properly, you will see I'm the biggest target of the trouble browser. Number one for over 10 years, Mr. Malema. In fact, the first time I met him, he was in the youth league with that gentleman. And look how he's changed. Right. We have too many.
Hey, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I need Drewski meme on that. Like, what do you mean by that? Like he's changed. Like, what do you mean by that?
What do you mean by that? Mr. Malema. In fact, the first time I met him, he was in the youth league with that gentleman. And look how he's changed. Right. We have too many deaths, but it's across the board. It's not only white farmers. It's across the board. And we need technological help. We need.
What I don't like about this, he he trying to vouch and put in the pitch for Elon, which it may be good, but watch. Someone explained in one of these videos that it's because they starting to kick Elon out because they like, yo, you can use all those drones and stuff to spy on us, which is true. Like, which is true. Would America let a foreign companies for the most part set their drones up that's a little bit tied with the government? So now Elon touched with the government, so that is making it a little suspicious. So like America wouldn't let a foreign country bring their tech and drones in and like, we'll use your drones. Like they would be like, nah, national security. So, but I don't know. Let's just keep listening.
Starlink at every little police station. We need drones. I actually got drones donated for the peace parks to stop elephant and rhino poaching. And his predecessor stopped the importation because he said the United States would spy on us. I mean, US basics, the ridicule. So if you can help us. Remember, sir, you and I lived in New York in the 70s. We never thought New York could be what it became. 2 commissioners, a tough mayor.
I just think that was real interesting and important for him that he vouched for that. It ain't as what they trying to say it is, that it's across the board, the crime and the murders. And he vouching that like, well, they kicked his predecessors kicked him out because they was going to spy on him. But it's like, yeah, like what the fuck, like so. That was interesting.
We need your help to stop this awful killing, but it's across the board. Ernie's right now building a house in Georgia. I'm building 3 cottages for my grandchildren on a farm outside Graaff-Reinet. I often go to bed without locking the door. And we have a serious problem with illegal aliens who stream across the border. And if you really look at our statistics, a lot of these murders, firstly, it's unemployment and illegal aliens. And then I met Vice President Watts many years ago, the Charlie Rose show. My wife loved the book. And she reminded me this morning that you emphasized the devastation that occurs when big companies leave towns and cities, and there's a culture of dependency that develops. And I remember you discussing it. Now that's our problem. If we don't get our economy to grow, the culture of dependency and the lawlessness will increase. I've been against apartheid all my life, and I'm their #1 target. Please just Google my name and Malema. You'll see it. He marched on the farm.
But the crime is bad.
The crime is terrible, sir, but Mr. Steenhuisen won't admit to it, but he runs the Western Cape, where I live. And the biggest murder rate is in the Cape Flats. Gangs. We've got gang warfare. Like your M33, what were these guys? We've got equivalents there, but we need your help, sir. And we need Elon technology.
Well, one of the real areas of support is really in investments. We've got to grow our economy, because through growing the economy, we're then able to create more jobs. Because crime really thrives where there is inequality and unemployment. And that is one of the reasons that has brought us here, to improve our investment relations, our trade relations, so that we can preserve the number of jobs that your companies have created in South Africa. By virtue of what we export to you, we are able to create up to 500,000 jobs in the auto industry, in the agricultural industry, and a number of other industries, mining, where we export things to you. And we also know that as South African companies invest here, you are also able to create jobs. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So Our main real reason for being here is to foster trade and investment so that we are able to grow our economy with your support, and so that we're also able to address all these societal problems, because criminality thrives when people are unemployed, when they have no other hope to eke out a living. So that is what we need to resolve. And your support, your partnership with us is what is really going to give us a strong capability to move forward.
That man was spitting a little bit. Like, see, he know how to handle himself. Like, and they on Twitter, you know, the thirsty racists, like, yo, like, it was actually important though. It is important. Like, it is important to bring to the issue, because maybe we'll find a solution to it. Like, so I find that interesting. I don't know. I'm about to play this. I might not like this though. Plagiarizing anybody video. I ain't say not one name.
Point of sale.
I ain't say not one name of whoever these videos are. I ain't shit. This is history leaks. Subscribe to this shit. I ain't even see what this is, but he say. See what he said.
Government recently flew in. So the U.S. government recently flew in dozens of white South African Afrikaner families, granting them asylum and refugee status due to racial violence, farm attacks, and land seizures that they've been facing in South Africa in recent years. But who are the Afrikaners as a people, and how did they end up in South Africa in the first place? In 1652, the Dutch East India Company set up a refueling station at the Cape of Good Hope. It was never meant to be a colony, just a stop-off point for ships on their way to the Dutch colonies in Asia. A man named Jan van Riebeck led the first group to shore. They built a fort, planted crops, and set up the resupply station. It wasn't just for Dutch ships, but for anyone willing to pay to resupply. Naturally, the settlement grew, the farms expanded, and over time, some settlers became independent, what was known as
How did settlers in like just some random country, like that's like me just sailing a boat over to like over to India and just set up on the shore where I don't see nobody for a good couple miles and like, oh, we gonna set up shop. Them Indians would be chopping my head off.
free burghers. They were no longer employees of the Dutch East India Company, but free independent farmers working the land for themselves. So that's when permanent European settlement began in South Africa. It was around 45.
It's just this word settlement. Like, what is that? Like, what is that? Like,
years after Jamestown was settled in the Americas. So basically, Afrikaners have been in Africa for almost as long as Europeans have been in North America. Over time, more people came. Dutch settlers were joined by German Protestants and French Huguenots. The Huguenots were fleeing persecution in Catholic France, and many of them brought valuable skills with them, like winemaking. That's why one of the most famous wine-producing areas in South Africa is called Franshoek, literally meaning the French corner. Over time, these European groups started to merge into a single colonial population. They spoke Dutch, but over generations, the language started to change. The grammar simplified and new words were introduced from German and even local African languages. And the result was a new language, Afrikaans, which was a uniquely South African offshoot of Dutch. It's important to note that Afrikaans is the broader cultural and ethnic identity of this new colonial group, but even within that, there were different groups. In Cape Town and the coastal settlements of Cape Colony, you had a more educated urban class. These people had stronger ties to Europe. They were...
I still can't get past, like, y'all just set up shop on somebody other country. Like, that's like, I mean, like, who knows how more developed that they may have been. Obviously, they're not more developed to stop them. Like, they probably hopped off them boats with some guns and shit. Like, motherfuckers was still probably had swords and spears and shit, and they hopping over guns and cannons. So, like, so that's almost like right now. Like, so somebody, I guess we have more like the UN and stuff like, oh, you can't just go invade that country. Like, but where was the UN back then? Like, who authorized this? Like,
merchants, clergy, bureaucrats, and professionals.
Like, you would think the other countries would be hearing about it. Like, oh, the Dutch were down there in South Africa. Oh, that's fucked up. Like, and they taking over some area over there. They probably was like, shit, we about to find ourselves an area too. Like, motherfuckers say shit. Like, so that was the problem. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, we need to check also into what was going on with the Cabbage Patch Babies. Like, why so much mass migration to one area? Why so much? Like, what was wrong with your area? Like, I'm like not even trying to be funny though. Like was y'all overcrowded or something? Like,
they lived under more direct influence of the Dutch East India Company and later the British. Inland, away from the coast, a different kind of settler took root, the Boers. The word literally means farmer in Dutch. These were the people who moved beyond the colony's borders, setting up isolated farms in the interior of Africa. They were tough and they lived hard lives, cut off from formal education and the government. They were self-reliant, deeply conservative, and strongly committed to their land and faith. Their identity was built on independence, and they didn't answer to anyone, and they didn't want to. So while all Boers are Afrikaners, not all
like, it just sounds crazy. That's why I said just invasion. Like, let's just call it what it is. Like, ain't nothing wrong with it. Like, it was like, look, this open land, we're gonna have to just walk right in there. Like, that's why I was like, I don't feel sorry for him. I mean, I guess the new generation, if I didn't do that, like my great grandfather did that. I guess, like, but it always goes back to my analogy. Like, if my pop shot you and stole your car or something, just it's fucked up, right? And then he handed the car down to me. And then when you grew up, you see me driving that car. It's like, what's up? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a touchy situation. And then I go to, that's why in previous eras, they will wipe everybody out, because the children are going to grow up like, yo, like, this is my land, or like, like, this is like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Afrikaners are Boers. And over time, their way of life would shape the political and cultural direction of the Afrikaner people as a
gangster. Can't even hold you. That joint fuck you up, bro. But they looking creepy though. I don't even know. This is giving Star Wars. It's giving Dark Amish, like the Illuminamish. Like, it's giving the Illuminamish.
a whole. Then in the early 1800s, the British took control of Cape Colony. At the time, the Netherlands had fallen under French control, and Britain was at war with France. And they didn't want a French-aligned colony sitting on its most important trade route to India. The Cape was too strategic to ignore, so in 1806, the British moved in and took it. What? The Dutch settlers, who were mostly Afrikaners, they didn't have much of a choice. And at first, the British presence was tolerable, but things started to change. The British rule brought a flood of bureaucracy, taxes, laws, regulations, and a new administration. The Boers, who had built their lives around independence and self-reliance, they didn't take kindly to any of this. And on top of that, the British pushed English as the new official language. Dutch, and by then the Afrikaans language, was pushed aside in schools and courts. But what really triggered the resistance was slavery. In 1834, the British abolished slavery across the empire. And for the Boers who depended heavily on slave labor for their farms, saw this as the final straw, and they didn't want any part of it. So they packed up and left. In what would become known as the Great Trek, starting around 1836, thousands of Boer families packed up their belongings in ox-drawn wagons and headed north. It would have looked something like the American wagon trails, but in an African environment. They pushed beyond the borders of British-controlled Cape Colony and deep into the African interior. And there they encountered new groups, including the Bantu-speaking peoples, who had migrated from Central Africa centuries earlier. Unlike the nomadic Khoisan people that they had encountered in their earlier days in the Cape, the Bantu peoples were much more advanced agricultural societies and had very strong, large armies. One of the most powerful of these was the Zulu kingdom, led at the time by King Dingane, the successor of Shaka Zulu. So as the Boer families moved north and they came into contact with the Bantu people, some of their encounters were peaceful and sometimes they came into conflict. The most famous clash came in 1838 at the Battle of Blood River. A group of around 470 Boer voettrekkers, pioneers, traveling in wagons, were attacked by an estimated 10 to 20,000 Zulu warriors near the Nkome River. The Boers were great shots. They had their rifles, 2 cannons, and they fortified their wagons in a circle formation. It was a clear and sunny day, and the sight of the massed Zulu army around the Boer wagons must have been a terrifying one.
But I mean, it's like, this is not like no glorious moment for them. Like y'all not supposed to be there. Like, oh my God. Like, it's like, I'm trying to make light of it, but the truth is the truth. Like, so you let the British, the English kick y'all out of y'all town that y'all stole from that first area, then y'all start going to the new area and want to take nature. Like, what do you think is gonna happen? Like, hey, what the fuck? Now you should have sent like maybe some peacekeepers or somebody ahead of time and be like, look, we want to integrate into your family. We'll be your protection to fight against the English or the British when they come, because you know they're gonna eventually come. So that would have been the super smartest, but I'm pretty sure along the lines that they probably wiped the Zulu out or something. Let's keep watching. It's fucked up. Or what is probably going to happen is reinforcements from the other European countries is going to come out. But if they were smart, they would have just been like, can we just integrate with y'all, like, and just hopefully they don't try to kill you off the bat and y'all just fighting anyway. But integrate with y'all, we'll be your personal, like, armed force against when the rest of the white folk come. Like, that'd have been some thorough ass shit. Like, but all right, let's keep playing.
Battle began, and wave after wave of Zulus were repulsed by the Boer guns. By midday, more than 3,000 Zulus lay dead, with only 3 Boers wounded. The day became a foundational myth for the Boer people.
A
victory against...
That is not like, I mean, it was 3,000 is a slaughter, but like compared to the number, they said, how many died? Sound like they said 300,000. Well, I got here how many said came. Oh, commercial.
Last time.
I got here how many said came, and then they said like 3,000 died.
Near the Nkome River. The Boers were great shots. 1838 at the Battle of Blood River. A group of around 470 Boer voettrekkers, pioneers, traveling in wagons, were attacked by an estimated 10 to 20,000 Zulu.
Okay, 500 versus 10, about 10,000. That's still pretty good on the Boer Bulls. And it's like, I can't even cap. Like, that's good if you're only like 3 injured. Like, I'm thinking, like, how the fuck fast would they reloading? Like, that with them things, some semi-automatic drones, right? Don't they got it like, or like some shit? And like, it ain't like the one you got stuffed though. Like, that's fucked up. Like, but it's probably like some pump action. But they said 500 of the Boers, 10,000 Zulu, 3,000 of the Zulu died, and nobody on the board. Like, that's still a slaughter though, as far as the number statistics. Like, that's fucked up. Like, how fuck fast were they reloading? Like, what the fuck? And when they throwing those spears, like, motherfucker.
Warriors.
That's crazy.
Near the Nakome River. The Boers were great shots. They had their rifle. Wave after wave of Zulus were repulsed by the Boer guns. By midday, more than 3,000 Zulus lay dead, with only 3 Boers wounded. The day became a foundational myth for the Boer people. A victory against such overwhelming odds made them believe that they were God's chosen people. And after the Great Trek, the Boers went on to establish 3 new independent republics for themselves: Transvaal, the Orange Free State, and Natal, which was much more brief. Eventually, the British would take over that as well, and it became modern-day Durban. So the Boers established their own small republics away from British control.
Everywhere they go, the British keep coming, taking it from them. So what the fuck? And the British probably just sitting back and just letting them do all the dirty work and all the blood work. And then they come in. Like, that's wild crazy.
Where they had their own governments, their own way of life, and their own militias to protect themselves. And for a time, the British left them alone. They didn't see it as worth the trouble of going to take over these dusty settlements far, far away from civilization. But then in 1867, that all changed. Something new was discovered in the Boer territory, which would suddenly make the British very interested. And that discovery would change the region forever. Diamonds were discovered near the Vaal River in Boer territory in 1867. And then in 1886, gold was found in the Witwatersrand region, one of the richest gold fields in the world. So suddenly these small Boer republics became very important. Boer republics got very rich. They attracted a lot of business, a lot of industry to their region. People came from all over the world to work there. Businessmen from all over the world, from Britain, from America, from Australia, came to South Africa, came to these Boer republics to work in the diamond and gold mining industry. And over time, the population of these foreign workers, the British foreign workers especially, got bigger and bigger, and the British workers living in the Boer Republic started to demand political rights, to vote and be involved in the politics of the Boer Republics. But the Boers themselves refused to give any political rights to the foreign workers, because the Boers themselves, they had this whole history of going through all this trouble and all this hardship to form their own republics to govern themselves. They didn't want to give away any political power to outsiders. And so that's kind of what led.
Like, bro, y'all dead ass just murdered some tribes and took, like, bro, stop.
To the First and Second Boer War. The First Boer War was short, and the Boers actually ended up defeating the British. They had gotten quite...
Like, they just doing all this on, like, a land that's not even yours. Like, don't that sound crazy, y'all? Or it just don't matter? Like, like, why y'all fighting wars and all this stuff? Like, what is relax.
Rich from their gold and
that's what happens. Greed, stealing, greed, resources, especially when you get gold and diamonds. There they go. Like, they don't care. Oh, well, this your country? I don't care. We just take like, whatever. Like,
diamond industry, and they had a lot of weapons, the latest weapons and technology in their army. and the British Army wasn't really prepared for it. But in the Second Boer War from 1899 to 1902, it was a much more brutal and hard-fought war. The Boers ended up having to fight more of a guerrilla war, and they had these small groups on horseback attacking supply lines and avoiding open battle. And the British responded in the Second Boer War with overwhelming force. They didn't want to make the same mistake they had before. And they also introduced a new strategy of concentration camps. Where
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like y'all just doing too much. Like this, bro, y'all doing too much. We haven't even got to apartheid and all that shit yet. I don't even want to go into that. Like, it'll be a real long thing. I just played this just because of that Boer chant song and stuff like that. They're doing a lot, man. Like on a whole nother country, like they doing the most, and then here come British doing the most. Like what? Doing way too much. All right, that's enough of that because that was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Like what is going on? All right, that's pretty much all I got for y'all because they're trash. Did I play this?
Democracy depends on a free press.
Yeah, I played
Please.
this for y'all already.
It's a means through which you can mobilize anxiety, mobilize fear, and mobilize frustration from a segment, I think a relatively small segment of
And Andile Zulu is a political analyst with the Alternative Information and Development Center. His new piece for the website, Africa is a Country, is titled Race, Power, and the Politics of Distraction. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Herman Wasserman, let's begin with you. You are a white South African and you are an Afrikaner. If you can explain, first of all, to the world what exactly that means and what you thought when you heard President Trump charge white genocide in South Africa.
Well, I would say that my first response was one of incredulity, and later met with, I think with disgust even, and just rejection of this notion of a white genocide or whites being persecuted. And I think that view is shared by many others, white South Africans, and certainly the majority of South Africans in the country.
Well, Andile Zulu, if you could also respond to these claims of a white genocide in South Africa and Trump bringing over these 59 Afrikaners to the U.S., and talk about this in the context of this the new law that replaces the 1975 Expropriation Act in South Africa, and explain why that's been so controversial and what it entails.
Well, this accusation of white genocide emanating from the White House is a conspiracy theory and a myth that has been floating around echo chambers of right-wing populists and white nationalists for many decades now, particularly within the online space. And it essentially holds the accusation that white South Africans, in particular Afrikaans South Africans, are victims of deliberate, direct, state-sanctioned violence. And anyone who lives in this country, who's awake to the reality of this country, the inequality, the poverty, the unemployment that most Black South Africans have to endure, and including Indian and colored South Africans as well, knows that it's patently untrue. And the truth, however, is irrelevant to those who are perpetuating this myth. What matters is that it's a means through which you can mobilize anxiety, mobilize fear, and mobilize frustration from a segment, I think a relatively small segment of the population that is dissatisfied with the post-apartheid democracy and the loss of their political elevated status. It's a way in which you can mobilize fears here in South Africa and then appeal to a base within the MAGA movements in the US as well to portray the Donald Trump presidency as essentially being a crusader to defend white civilization, both in the USA and here. And this all began initially with the signing by the president, Ramaphosa, of the Expropriation Act, which in itself is not that much of a radical or progressive policy. It's a very procedural piece of legislation, which essentially changes the criteria through which government can expropriate private property for the public good and for the public use on the basis of finding just and equitable compensation. And in fact, most legal experts have said that the instances in which you will arrive at nil compensation, at no compensation, would be quite rare, actually. So this legislation isn't an assault on white livelihoods. It isn't even an attack on the dominance of private property relations in post-apartheid. But for Elon Musk and for Donald Trump, it's doing what right-wing populism, what racial ideologies always function to do, which is to stoke fear, conflict, and division in order to be able to protect the exploitative and unequal relations under South Africa's neoliberal capitalism, and I think under the neoliberal order that we have more broadly.
And Andile, I mean, I just want to add a couple of things that I wanted to say earlier, which is to clarify for audiences who aren't as aware of South Africa's history. It was a 1913 law that gave over 90% of South Africa's land to whites. Today, they are some 7% of the population are white South Africans, but they still own about half, 50% of the country's land. Afrikaners, who constitute the majority of the white population, are among, of course, the most successful and richest in South Africa. So if you could explain, Andile, how has this news, Trump's statement, the fact that these 59 people have now arrived in the U.S., how has that been received in South Africa, this news?
I think it's been a mixture of frustration and bewilderment and just real confusion as to what is the basis of the idea that white South Africans, in particular Afrikaners, are being persecuted. And as you said, South Africa in the post-apartheid, the past 30 years of democracy that we have, comes out of a history of a white supremacist regime, which not only dispossessed people of color of their land, but also then set up a rigorous economic system of exploitation to ensure the underdevelopment of Black people, Indians and coloreds included, to be able to amass economic and political power. Now, if you just look, for example, at the statistics that we have on the racial manifestations of inequality in this country, it's quite clear that this myth of white genocide and of white persecution has no basis in reality. For example, the unemployment rate amongst white South Africans sits at 7.9% as compared to 36.9% for Black South Africans. The poverty rate for white South Africans sits at 1% as compared to 64% for South Africans. And in fact, the people who are the victims of violence, by and large, due to organized crime and due to the symptoms of societal dysfunction, are largely young Black men and young Black women. If you are a young Black person in the place where I live, in Cape Town, and you live in a township in a rural area, you are 16 times more likely to be a victim of homicide as compared to a white South African. But however, it's just important to clarify that white South Africans, of course, because we are all living in a country that has many issues and many crises, are still, of course, victims of violent crime, of state dysfunction, of economic anxiety and of financial precarity, but they are not victims of those things, but because they are white. Those issues are a symptom of a larger dysfunction due to an incapacitated state run by kleptocrats trying to enforce neoliberalism on an increasingly dysfunctional economy. So it's quite important to say that the myth of white genocide has no basis in reality. However, South Africa is facing crises, the three crises of mass unemployment, of inequality, and of poverty. And those results from the choices, the bad policy choices that the ANC has made since 1996, which is essentially an abiding commitment to neoliberal policy, the kinds of policies which are causing the crises that we see in the United States and in many parts of the world as well.
I wanted to go back to Professor Herman Wasserman. Here in the United States, powerful group of men around Trump, known often as the PayPal Mafia, co-founders and members of PayPal, extend to apartheid South Africa. Its members, Elon Musk, co-founder of PayPal with Peter Thiel, along with David Sachs and Roelof Botha. So you have this situation.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what, for sure, definitely why this came down the pipeline, pause. Because Elon is definitely fueling. Elon must have got a hairpiece, because this had to have been like 20 years ago. Like, how more than 20? How old is Elon? Like, it's giving vampire vibes. Because he bounced back with the hairline. He must have definitely got a banging ass fucking implant. But he's definitely behind the few behind, like, in Trump ear, like, this is we got to push. And I'm pretty sure it was a lot behind. That was the main reason why they invited him, the African president, to speak with Trump. They basically wanted to ambush him. So this is where it's coming from for the most part. You know, definitely his emotions and feelings got involved. And he like, I got the power to, like, push this, and it was a failure. On the surface, it may look like, oh yeah, like, yeah, he told him, like, but it was a bad move, like, especially if it ain't true. If it is true, if it's as horrible as they making it sound, like, yeah, it's fucked up. But if it ain't true, and then plus, like, what are y'all doing there? I mean, like I said, I understand, like, you settled in that area and then your generations grew up there. That's why, like, if I was in a position, I'd be like, shit, like, I'm not saying we should abandon all our shit and bounce, but, like, man, shit, if they don't want us here, sell my shit off here. I'll sell it to the government. I'm out. Like, so I don't know. Like, I would kind of feel like, I mean, I know, like, I didn't do it personally, but I'd be like, my great granddaddy was in apartheid. And then even his great grandpappy came with the Boers running around, killed probably most likely the ones that killed the Zulu tribe. And it's starting to piss me off. I'm about to look that up. But yeah, man, so we're gonna keep going a little bit, and let me get off this, John. Y'all got the motherfucking point. Like, like, it was a bad fail to me for Trump. My opinion, like, I mean, but which I already said, the minute Elon and Trump stick their nose in Africa, they're gonna be on the wrong side of history. Like,
and Roelof Botha. So you have this situation where most refugees in the world are not allowed into the United States right now, where refugees are being thrown out of the United States. But you have this group on Monday of 59 white South African Afrikaners arriving in the United States after being granted refugee status. Can you talk about the small group around Trump and what they mean for Trump's worldview right now, and what it means that these refugees are brought here? Did it get much attention in South Africa? I shouldn't say refugees, but these white South African Afrikaners.
Yes, I think many South African media outlets refer to these refugees in inverted commas, because I think that is the general understanding, that they are not really refugees. As you have pointed out, it flies in the face of the really dire and tragic circumstances that many people around the world live under, and that would be much more eligible for refugee status. In fact, as Andile has pointed out, this whole refugee status is based on disinformation. It's based on a disinformation campaign. And so some of it, it's hard, of course, to pinpoint exactly what happened first. And one could argue that some of these white former South Africans around Donald Trump would have had his ear and would have maybe helped him tap into this sort of narrative of white persecution. They also represent to him maybe white South Africans who have left the country and have sought their fortunes elsewhere. And but I think what is also important to recognize is that this has also been the result of a concerted effort by some Afrikaner lobby groups over many years to fan that idea that South African, white South Africans, especially Afrikaners, are being persecuted. There have been a consistent campaign by the Afrikaner rights group AfriForum, who have been pushing that narrative for many years. They have lobbied Washington. They have met Republican officials. They've appeared on conservative media outlets like the Tucker Carlson show. They've extended their road shows to conservative think tanks and conferences in Europe, like CPAC in Hungary. And in all these places, they painted a dire picture of South Africa, where white farmers are supposedly under constant attack, where they're singled out for violence. They are on the verge of losing their land, that they are unfairly being targeted by a corrupt and totalitarian government which discriminates against them in what they would call a type of reverse apartheid. And all of this was very deftly wrapped up in a communication strategy that then eventually found sympathetic ears among US conservatives. And I think with these men around, white former South Africans around Trump, which would have amplified that to him. And now with this so-called refugee campaign, their communication campaign over these many years, their lobbying has finally paid off. I think in terms of the South African media, there have been a range of responses, but I think by and large, people recognize that this has no basis in reality. As Andile said, this is based on a disinformation campaign. Some of the conservative elements in the society might find that now somebody has listened to their complaints and taken that seriously. But anybody who really has their basis in factual reality would know that this is a ruse, that this is a disinformation campaign, and that actually these little group of so-called refugees are pawns in a much larger political campaign, a campaign both domestically in the US, where Trump is using them as pawns, as props in a campaign that purports to promote whiteness and whiteness under threat, and also geopolitically in his executive order, which granted this refugee status to Afrikaners. It was juxtaposed very closely with criticism of South Africa for taking Israel to the ICJ. So this can clearly also be seen as a message to South Africa to punish them for their stance on Israel and Israel's war on Gaza and the US's involvement in support of that war. So I think one has to understand that this is, although this group of Afrikaners might be the tokens, might be the people propped up in front of the cameras in this media event, that they are actually pawns and props in a much larger domestic and geopolitical political campaign for Trump, and also domestically in South Africa for a group of Afrikaners who actually do not have any intention to leave. AfriForum and these groups said that they do not want to leave. In other words, this is really a power play for them domestically as well, to force the South African government to take their complaints more seriously, to take their claims to privilege more seriously. So it is not really about that group of 49 or however many refugees.
And of course, the U.S. threw out the South African ambassador to the United States as well, as President Trump goes after universities that talk about structural and historical racism in the United States. Herman Wasserman, I want to thank you for being with us, Professor of Journalism, Director of the Center for Information Integrity in Africa at Stellenbosch University. His new piece we'll link to in Africa as a Country is headlined Trump's Fake.
Oh my God. See, that's what I said.
On to new fallout now from Donald Trump's contentious Oval Office meeting with South Africa's president earlier this week. During that meeting, President Trump held up some printouts of news articles and images that he claimed were evidence of a genocide against white South Africans. Well, as Reuters reports, one of the images is actually from Reuters video of a mass burial in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It does not depict dead white farmers in South Africa, as Mr. Trump and the White House claimed in front of the South African president and in front of journalists in the White House. For more now, let's go to CNN's Larry Maddow joining us from Nairobi in Kenya. This Congo confusion, Larry, how are people where you are reacting to it?
It is shocking to a lot of people because, as I said after that meeting, based on my own reporting in this region, and especially from 15 years in South Africa, a lot of what President Trump used to justify this persecution and murders of white farmers was just untrue. And this is another evidence. When I saw him hold up that picture, I thought it looked familiar. We now know, and Reuters is confirming, that this picture of body bags is not from South Africa. It's actually from the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's from a mass burial in Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo on February 3rd. And the Reuters video journalist, Jafar Al-Katanti, who took that video, was surprised to see the president hold up that picture. It's a screen grab that links to a Reuters video from that day. It follows a big assault on that Goma city in the eastern DRC by rebels named M23, and that was the effect. A lot of people were killed on that day, the days before, and this was a mass burial that was carried out by the International Committee of the Red Cross, and Reuters were the only news organization that were allowed in to film that. So this picture does not depict the deaths of white farmers in South Africa, as President Trump led President Ramaphosa to believe. And the wider question, the point that President Trump was trying to make here, is that lots of farmers in South Africa are getting killed or getting executed, even though he'd used evidence that does not support that. That picture was from an American conservative online magazine that had talked about both Goma, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and South Africa. And the South African foreign minister was on Amanpour last night, and he brought some statistics with him.
In the last 4 years, 225 farm attacks, 101 farm dwellers who are majority black, 55 farm owners who are majority white. So that is a period of 4 years, and that does not represent a genocide. But it is still unfortunate. It should not happen because any crime, it is a crime. And that's why the president then stated that we are dealing with a crime situation.
And that is the argument that South Africans are trying to make the oath about. It's them a crime problem, not